Hi, everybody. It's Kelly Catalinas along with Cindy Bishop Worldwide. I am a branch manager with Fairway Independent Mortgage. We're based out of Fairfax, Virginia. But it is my pleasure to introduce our Mid-Atlantic Regional Marketing Manager, Sarah Rubin. You've probably seen Sarah before on some of our initiatives here at Cindy Bishop Worldwide. And today she brings us the topic of utilizing artificial intelligence for real estate. Sarah has a long history with Fairway in assisting not only just the loan officers and salespeople here, but our realtor partners in being sure that their presence online is up to speed with how people want to be advertised today, get their information today. And utilizing artificial intelligence is just one cog in that wheel. As we move forward in this technology landscape that we're approaching. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah. She has a lot of great things to discuss today. And please feel free to put questions in the chat, or you can unmute. We have a small group today and ask the question.
Awesome.
Sarah?
Thank you so much, Kelly. So like Kelly said, today we're really going to dive into utilizing artificial intelligence specifically for real estate. And that will probably be the last time you hear me say artificial intelligence. It's a mouthful. So we will be utilizing the term AI, but that is what it stands for. I don't like to just jump in with the abbreviation because sometimes that starts us off on this is a complicated topic. Foot versus we can really delve into this. It is only as complicated as you want it to be. And we're going to talk about kind of how to utilize it, the various platforms, what it is, and then when you shouldn't utilize it. And I think that part is just as important as any other piece of this. But before we get started, let's really kind of dive into what is being said about AI everywhere else. If you've turned your TV on lately or you've opened a newspaper, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. So we're going to go through a bunch of headlines that have been out. First, could AI really replace Hollywood's human writers? And other headlines. A news site used AI to write articles. It was a journalistic disaster. Microsoft rolls out AI-generated ad headlines and descriptions. SEC's Gensler warns AI risks financial stability. Christopher Nolan compares artificial intelligence to the atomic bomb. ChatGPT in real estate, enhancing customer experience and efficiency. How early adopters in real estate learn to stop worrying and love AI. Artificial intelligence, real estate revolution or evolution. So those are just some examples. You have people who feel strongly on both sides of the spectrum. It's a super powerful, impressive tool, and it's a super powerful, scary tool. And the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. It is a super powerful tool. There is no other way to put it. And whether you like the concept or not, it's here to stay, and it's already changing the real estate landscape, as well as the landscape in many, many other industries. The question now is really, how do we utilize it to win in today's housing market? So I think, I'm not even going to say what I think. You guys can throw in the chat or just respond to me. What are some words you would use to describe today's housing market? You can throw them in the chat. You can also just say them out loud. Crazy. Fierce. Difficult.
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. Those are all really, really good terms to kind of, go ahead. Okay. Those are all terms that I think are really fair to describe today's market, and all things AI can actually help with. So in a market that's difficult, that you have to craft a stronger message in things that are constantly changing. You have to be able to constantly change. And it's difficult to take your messaging, take your descriptions, take your captions on social media, take your email campaigns, all of those things, and constantly shift them to match the craziness of the market. Well, AI allows you to do that in a much easier way, with a lot less frustration. So what is AI? Artificial intelligence is a technology that makes machines think and act like humans. It involves creating computer programs that can learn from data, recognize patterns, and make decisions on their own. AI can be found in everyday things like voice assistants, self-driving cars, and recommendation systems. It uses algorithms to analyze large amounts of information quickly and accurately. Just like how we learn from experience, AI learns from data to become smarter and improve its performance over time. So what does that mean? Any AI system is taught. So just as a child is taught the ABCs and eventually then learns how to read, AI does the exact same thing. It is given data and it takes that data and it learns from it. So every single time you or I enter a prompt into any AI platform, whether it's a text prompt, a voice prompt, a visual prompt, it is learning from that data. So it is consistently getting smarter, just as a human is, or hopefully is, and it is then using its knowledge base, so the data it's been given, to provide answers. That means if it hasn't been given a lot of data on something, it's not going to be well versed on it. And you will see that probably in 5 years from now, our AI programs are smarter than they are today. But it also, I do remind everyone that we learn based on human emotion and on all of these other things. AI does not. AI learns strictly from data sources. So when you're thinking about what is artificial intelligence, what is AI, it is the technology that makes machines act as human-like as possible. But I will never say that it is the technology that makes machines humans, because there is still a gap there. So how do we utilize AI for real estate? Here are 6 places I think it's really powerful. You can streamline communication and follow-up. You can generate unique and engaging property descriptions, provide social media captions and video scripts, integrate with virtual assistants, provide ideas for unique events for target audiences, and then communicate in different ways to target different audiences. So, I really like it to streamline. I think it makes things much more efficient. So if you are consistently writing communication that's similar and the follow-up is similar, create templates, use AI to help you create kind of that framework for your communication, so that each time you go to do pretty much the same task, just with a different audience, you're not starting at the start again. Property descriptions, I really do believe that it is a great tool there. It makes things far more engaging and unique. There are only so many ways that our brains can think of to say, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom property, fully updated. And things like AI can make it sound a lot more interesting, a lot more eye-catching, so that people are more engaged with the actual content, and hopefully property sells faster. Social media captions and video scripts, excellent place there. Many brokerages provide virtual assistants, but if they don't, there are a lot of technologies that do, and most AI will integrate with them so that it sounds more like you. It's getting the data on how you would respond, and that virtual assistant is now becoming more human-like versus a bot. Ideas or event ideas can become, challenging. Provide me an event that doesn't include X, X, and X, but does include Y, Y, and Y. That helps you take some of that guesswork out of it, and then communicate different ways to different audiences. You cannot talk to different audiences the same way and expect the results you're looking for. So if you are talking to downsizing buyers, you cannot have the same conversation with them that you would your first-time buyer. Your follow-up can't sound the same. Your emails can't sound the same. The level of detail can't sound the same. They need different things. And AI has the ability to kind of say, okay, I know my audience is maybe a baby boomer versus a first-time home buyer millennial. Any questions? So one of the biggest things about AI is with humans, we gather our context from the world around us. So the way people are talking, the facial expressions, things of that sort, that's our context. But our content is the exact same as it is in AI, where our context, it is not the same. So our content for both human interaction and AI refers to your actual information, the data or the text that you provide to the AI model. And it includes the specific words, sentences, or paragraphs that you put into the model. It also includes any graphic you would put. The content forms the basis of the conversation and then just determines that initial information just based on the actual information you're providing. The context refers to the broader understanding and background information that shapes the meaning and interpretation of the content. So with AI, you have to provide that context. You have to provide any background information you have. You need to provide the format in which you want the response. So if you want something in bullet points, you cannot expect that the AI model will know that simply from the content. You need to tell it. If this is the 5th email that you've had with someone and they typically don't respond for 48 hours, then provide that context so that when the AI model is then giving you their response or the content back, it has the context to make it really effective. It's the closest way we get to getting AI to seem human-like. If you just give it content, it's going to sound like a machine. If you give it content and context, it's going to sound much more like a person. And we're going to go through a bunch of prompts, and I will point out where the content is and where the context is. So we do need to talk about the limitations of AI. I worry that something like this is seen as that silver bullet. It is not. You still have to be a person in real estate. And I have taught this class many times, and almost every single time someone raises their hand and says, do you think this is going to replace us? Is this going to take over for the real estate agent? Zillow and Redfin are going to integrate it into their platforms, and we're no longer going to be necessary. They'll provide you with the code you need based on your location to get into the house, and that'll be it. No, I do not think that is the case. I think that AI still does not have the ability to really understand human emotion, and home buying is an emotional thing. There is no way for that to ever go away. No, I don't think that 90% of home buyers will ever feel like there is zero emotion in the idea of buying a home. So your jobs are safe. They're not going anywhere because of AI, but it might make your job a lot easier. It might make things a lot more efficient for you, make you able to do more things in the same amount of time. So what are those limitations? Empathy. So AI has no ability to feel the empathy when your client loses their 5th offer, or when someone's putting their home on the market and saying goodbye to a lifetime of memories in that house. AI has no way to feel that. It has no way to provide that consumer with the comfort they need. So that is always going to be a limitation. Even if we get down the road and have robots with built-in AI, they're never going to give a hug in the same way that a real estate agent can when you're doing your final walkthrough and signing your papers. That it's just never going to be possible. It does have some trouble at times discerning fact from fiction. So we will talk about where some of the different platforms have knowledge stops, but they do have some gaps in that ability to know what is true and what is not. And then it has no ability to understand social norms. So the easiest example in real estate is that if you put in, because it's just second nature to still in a property description, write, master bedroom, AI platforms have no ability to say, stop, that's not the social norm anymore. We need to switch master bedroom to primary bedroom. It's going to spit out what you put in. So you want to make sure that anything you're putting into the AI model, so whatever platform you're using, is the exact language and the, you know, the norm that you want to follow. Okay, so we are going to go through about 10 platforms of note, and there are hundreds of AI models at this point. These are some of the ones I really like. These are some that are really viewed as superior in the real estate industry. About 3 of them are general, and then the rest are very specific to real estate. But the first is ChatGPT. And I do believe that ChatGPT will be the Kleenex of tissues. When people are referring to AI models, I think they are generally going to say things like, oh, I used ChatGPT or use ChatGPT, but really they are meaning use any sort of AI. It is the most easy to come across right now. Who knows how long that will be the case, but I do think it's going to kind of be that like baseline AI model. So ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI. The reason I point that out is because if you are going to Google and Googling ChatGPT to pull up the platform to use it, it's going to say openai.chatgpt.ai, I believe. And that is correct. It doesn't say just chatgpt.com, which is the intuitive thing people think. So ChatGPT can be extremely helpful in developing blog posts, ad copy, long form articles, website content, social media posts, all things of that nature. It can be used to get content and ideas to create a content strategy. So if you want to come up with, you know, emails and ways to interact with potential clients, and then clients who have currently found a house or are selling a house, and then post transaction as well. It is also great at correcting grammar or rephrasing pre-written content. So if you have something you've written and you're like, I just want to spruce this up a little bit, you can put it right into ChatGPT. It'll spruce it up for you and spit it back out. I think that its biggest competitor, we will go back to ChatGPT for a second. ChatGPT does have 2 options. One is premium, which is what you pay for. It's a monthly fee. I believe it's $20 a month. And that gets you a Bing interaction. So where ChatGPT has a knowledge stop for free users is in November of 2021. So you are getting quite a stop there. You are missing out a whole bunch of life that has happened from that knowledge stop. So if you are asking it for current information or saying, you know, what are the top 5 restaurants in this teeny tiny town or area to give a recommendation because a client asked, or what are market conditions or things of that sort, it is not going to be able to give you something that's up to date unless you're using that paid subscription, because now the paid subscription has an integration with Bing, and Bing has the ability to search the internet. So you can use that if you are looking to get around it, but otherwise there is that large limitation there. I do not recommend using the free version if you're asking for anything with sources. It does not have the ability to give you accurate sources. If you are using it for anything other than really text-based writing copy, then you definitely need the paid version. It is a text-based only platform, so it cannot produce a photo for you. It can't read a photo. So it's really just your baseline AI. The next platform, and the one I do think is going to give it its largest run for its ChatGPT's largest run for its money, is Bard. So Bard is Google's AI model, and it can only give you information that is housed on Google. So yes, can it write captions and things of that sort? Sure, but it pulls all of its information from Google. Google houses, I would say 90%, if not more than 90% of all the data we need. But it is using Google exclusively. I think it will be here for a very, very long time. It is still in beta, so it's consistently getting additional data to learn more and more and more. But I think for anything that you would go to Google for, BART is going to be your prime AI model. Jasper AI is as of June, was the only AI that can be trained on your style of writing. So if you use an Oxford comma, for example, Jasper AI will learn that. And then any response or anything it spits out will always have an Oxford comma. So why this is beneficial in real estate is that it will constantly produce real estate content that fits your brand voice. So if you sound a specific way, it's not going to produce something that sounds generic. It's going to produce something that sounds like you. So if you like to write things very formally, it's going to stay very formal. It's not going to give you a bullet point. It learns that that's not the way you write, the way you function. So it really does do a good job of sounding as much like you as humanly possible. But again, those three are really your text-based models. Yes, ChatGPT is only extracting data from Bing when you're asking for an internet search. So otherwise it's extracting from all of the data it's given. But when you're asking for things like market condition or things of that sort, then it only searches Bing. It will not search Google or any other web-based data point. And Sherry, I was a communications and PR major, so I was required to know what an Oxford comma was to even graduate. Okay, so now we're going to get into your really real estate specific AI models. So I don't know how to even properly pronounce this, but we'll go Epicue AI helps it helps agents boost your efficiency. That's where it's really hones in on real estate here. So it's used often to create agent bios, eye-catching visuals. So this is where we're switching from your text-based models to your visual models. So create me an open house graphic. This now has the ability to do that. Generate your engaging content. And then it specializes in something called a 12-touch email and newsletter campaign. So it will, if you ask it for an email campaign, it's going to give you 12 different touches in that campaign. It's its standard kind of model. But what it is most known for, I suppose, is producing really impressive Instagram captions or quotes, property description, and targeted leads. So it's really working to kind of create a well-rounded real estate experience, follow-up, leads, social media, your website, all of those things in a way that all match so that you come across consistent, because that is the whole thing with anything online, social media, your website, blog, anything you do that's not talking to someone or meeting with someone. We need to make sure it's consistent with with when they do talk to you or meet you, so that it doesn't seem as if a robot took over everything else and that you're creating inconsistency and therefore lack of trust. We want all of your platforms to be working together to create kind of a very trusting experience for the consumer. And if you, things like Epicue, they really work to do that. So everything looks the exact same, so that when they pick up the phone, it's the same on the other line too. Virtual staging AI. So it prides itself on being the world's first virtual staging algorithm powered by AI. I do note here that it is developed by Harvard Innovation Labs, which means we know it's going to be good. It's from one of the most well-respected kind of innovation hubs. And it allows you to use pre-rendered digital assets that you can insert directly into your photos. So if you don't think a house needs to be physically staged to sell, you can actually use something like this to show renderings of what it would look like staged without spending that money. It's powerful enough to locate the right furniture at the right angle for any room in a house. So let's say you're trying to show that you can, in fact, in my first house, I live in Washington, D.C., and I felt very strongly that I had to be able to have a kitchen table as well as like a couch. I couldn't just have like an island to eat on. I wanted a place to like actually sit and have dinner. And something like this would have been super helpful for my real estate agent to be able to show me a house that maybe wasn't staged that way, but show exactly how everything could have fit in a house. It probably would have sold me a property much quicker. I don't have the cost for every one of these. If you just pop them into Google, I believe most of them have different levels. And then, yes, most of them will have trainings within the platforms. But most AI really just requires playing around with it. Okay. So Dream Staging AI is another virtual staging. And I would say that virtual staging is the premier right now, and Dream Staging is your second, but it has a suite of other tools, including an architectural planning tool and an interior design tool. So it does allow you to kind of have slightly different conversations. So if you know a property is perhaps a fixer-upper, you can use this architectural planning tool to show, ways to improve the property. Or if you wanted to sit down with your clients and say, let's look at ways you could design this as just another offering. But as just a virtual staging, I would probably choose Virtual Staging AI over Dream Staging AI. Reality Ninja. So this one is really meant for websites. So most agents have a website created by their brokerage. There's nothing about them that are SEO optimized. So really they just kind of live there so that if someone were to Google your name, something would pop up, but it's not really giving any clients information that's going to make them stop their search. And that's what we hope they do online, right? We want them to research you and then stop that search, pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to work with you, or hey, can we meet? And the way we do that is often by something that's really engaging, either on social or a website or a blog. And Realty Ninja really specializes in that website in an affordable way. It offers page and content management, a listing integration, so you can integrate it with your live listings, building an MLS functionality, so it will directly link in with the MLS, and has a lead capture form so that anyone who's on your site hopefully can leave their information and get back to you. It does let you utilize SEO. It has customer support and a bunch of third-party integrations. So you can look at kind of what it's working with that you already have and make a very robust website without needing to really understand how to build a website, because that's usually pretty much a stop. And then the last one is Hyro.ai. It's the first adaptive communication platform for real estate. So this is really for chat features and customer service. Social media is used quite a bit for customer service. So something like this integrates online and it becomes kind of a much more realistic chat than a bot, and makes you very quick on responding. It also keeps your brand's tone across every platform. So if you're using it for a text message, it's going to sound the same, but appropriate for text message as it would on Instagram or on your website. So it'll be shorter than your website response, but it'll sound the same. So that formality, all of that stuff, it'll sound the same there. So these are the platforms I really recommend and are viewed as kind of the the golden standard for real estate. I have not seen a ton of people I follow utilize any of this stuff yet. I think it's all really early. And what we generally see is early adopters get the worm. So, you know, like, this is really a case where if you pick something and stick to it, and I'm not telling you to sign up for each of these, I think that would be a mistake. But let's say you pick one or two and you're like, I'm going to really go all in on these. I think you will see the fruits of your labor relatively quickly. We see that with social media. We see it with most things, that the people who early adopt tend to be the most successful. If you wait until it's super popular and everyone's already doing it, there's something new coming soon when that happens. We know once everyone's on the bandwagon, something new is going to roll out. So I would really take the opportunity to pick one and try it and really commit to it. I say the same thing if I'm training on social media. Pick a platform, really get into it, because consistency and utilizing some of these newer technologies will produce results. So here are some prompt examples. We're going to go through 6 of them, and then I'm going to show you 2 examples in action utilizing ChatGPT. So like I promised, we will talk about the content and the context here. So the first one is, write me a property description for a 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom house in Bethesda, Maryland. The whole house is updated. The kitchen has top of the line appliances, and the primary bathroom has a soaking tub and 2 sinks. So this is all content. This is literally just going to spit out a description based on the location and the property features. If I wanted to add content here, something I could say is, this will be a highly sought after neighborhood given its proximity to downtown Bethesda, the metro, and the fact that the school system is ranked very high. So it would then give you kind of a property description that had a whole bunch of context to why this 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom house is something people are going to be interested in. The second one, write me a video script to be used on Instagram that discusses what it means to be a buyer's market. So the content here is that I need a script, and I needed to define a buyer's market. The context is that it's going to be on Instagram. It is super important because that will tell it how long this video script can be and the tone of the video script, because it knows it's where it's ending up. If I took that out and I just wrote, write me a video script discussing the definition of a buyer's market, you're going to get something probably relatively short and very straightforward. There's not going to be a lot of fluff, and Instagram does require some of that to be effective. So it'll know based on what you told it. The third, give me step-by-step instructions to follow up with leads from my open house yesterday at 12345 Washington Street. So we told it the open house was yesterday, and I need step-by-step instructions, not just give me follow-up for potential leads from an open house. We gave it the address, we gave it all of that data so that when it spits it out, it'll give us step-by-step instructions with an urgency because the open house was in fact yesterday. The fourth, write me a template for a follow-up email that includes a friendly greeting and expresses my gratitude for the lead coming to my open house. So you'll see, because we're going to use these prompts in a second in one of our examples. 4 is actually a follow-up from 3, and you're telling it you need to express your gratitude for their time and be very, very friendly, versus just write me a follow-up template for a lead coming to my open house. Number 5, write me a Facebook caption about my open house on Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. at 4567 Wilson Boulevard. So what I will tell you is I see the same captions on the same posts from every realtor across the country. Open house, Saturday, 1 to 3, image from MLS. Nothing about that is making me stop or engage. So it will give you something that will actually make people read, especially if you accompany it with a photo that is equally as engaging, and not just the same thing that's out on every other realtor's page. This gives you that unique edge. And then number 6, provide me with a list of 5 events that would be interesting to potential first-time home buyers. Do not include a home buying workshop as one of the options. So we know if you ask anyone, what are some events for first-time home buyers, someone's going to say a first-time home buyer workshop. Well, what does that look like? So this will give you 5 different events that are not just a straightforward home buyer workshop. So let's see it in action. So you'll see it's going to pop in the prompt, give me step-by-step instructions to follow up with leads from my open house. So it's going to give you that, you're going to type that prompt in, you're going to hit that green button, and off the machine will go. So it's going to give us, I believe, 10 different steps here. Organize your leads, prioritize, prepare a follow-up template, personalize your message, send a prompt email, follow up with a phone call, provide value, schedule private viewings, keep records, and maintain regular communication. So really, when I look at this, nothing earth-shattering here, right? All things you know, but it gives it to you in a way that is literally a checklist. You could print this out, put it on your desk, and every time you do this action, just check off the steps. It creates consistency, which really creates consistency in your business. It's not just, okay, this is what I did with this lead because I remembered to do all 10 steps. Instead, it creates an experience that is the same for every client, no matter what, and then personalized to them, of course, but they know that working with you looks exactly like this. And so then you can take it and say, write me a template for a follow-up email, which it already told you to do. And then you include some of those details. So include a friendly greeting, express your appreciation for their visit, and mention something specific about their interest in the property. So you can say, write me a template for a follow-up email. And then you can say, include that I really enjoyed meeting their golden doodle they brought to the open house, and the yard could be perfect for them. So you put that in, it'll give you again another template, and then you can tweak it as you go for that client specifically. So maybe they did bring their doodle or their child, or they're thinking about moving out of their house that they raised their whole family in. And now you know all of that information, and you can put it in that templated email without a tremendous amount of thought or time, and therefore, again, making you more efficient. Okay, here's our second example. So write me an Instagram caption about loving living in Washington, D.C. and the unique features the city has to offer to accompany a picture of me walking by the Capitol building. Well, it gave me something a little too political for real estate. So embracing every step in the heart of our nation's capital, from the iconic Capitol building to the vibrant energy that fills the streets, Washington, D.C. captivates with its rich history, stunning architecture, and endless opportunities. That does nothing for selling real estate. So I went back and edited, write me an Instagram caption about loving living in Washington, D.C. and selling real estate in the district. This caption will accompany a picture of me walking through Georgetown. So now I've given it a lot more context, why I love to live here, but also work here. And now I'm getting something that's actually super beneficial for social media, exploring the captivating streets of Georgetown, where I'm lucky to call Washington, D.C. my home and my playground. As a real estate agent in the district, I get to witness the magic of this vibrant city every day. From historic charm to thriving neighborhoods, I'm here to help you find your perfect piece of this incredible urban mosaic. Let's unlock the doors to your dreams together. It then also gave me 3 hashtags, going from super broad DC love, which probably has millions of posts, to much more specific Georgetown gems, probably has a couple thousand. So you want to make sure that you are giving it, okay, Instagram, not Facebook, both loving living in the district, but also working there and what I do for work. And then, you know, where you're going to use the image. And then based on its caption, I could say, okay, now I need to go to Georgetown and have someone snap a quick photo of me walking through. It doesn't have to be polished, doesn't need to be a professional photo, literally an iPhone, Android picture of me walking through the busy, like up busy Wisconsin Avenue. That's all you need. And all of that, the picture is going to be the thing that takes the most time, but now I have my caption and I'm good to go. This is not the paid version of ChatGPT. This is completely free. So I am not asking it for any data. I am strictly asking it for basic information that it can give me based on without any issue due to a knowledge stop. So this is completely free. And what I would suggest is, as you're learning a platform, especially something text-based, if that's where you're going to start, then there's no need to pay until you are going to utilize it more often. So I would say play with it for like a month, use it for just things like this: email templates, social media captions, rewriting things, see if you like it, see if you're consistent with it. And if you are, that's when you invest the money. Okay, so where do you start? I think there are three things you need to do. There is nothing I hate worse than, or hate more than, leaving a training and being like, okay, I get it, it's important, but like, well, what do I do now? And that is my biggest pet peeve personally. So for me, this is where you start. You need to notice the patterns in your work. What emails are you sending all the time and you're writing over and over and over again, that you can template, that you can use AI to make more efficient? The second is notice where you get redundant. Do your property descriptions all sound the same? Is there a way to make them a little bit more fun? And then notice where you get stuck. Are you not posting on social media because you're struggling to come up with captions? Once you notice the patterns where you're getting redundant and where you're getting stuck, then start utilizing AI. So if you know that you write a templated email after the first conversation you have with every client, head to ChatGPT or head to Bard or to Jasper and say, write me an email template after a first conversation that includes this, this, and this, and use an email you've sent before as the context. You can literally paste in that email and say, based on this email, write me a template, and it'll read that email. With your redundancy, you can ask it to just spruce something up. And with your redundancies, you're not looking for templates because that is going to become redundant again. Instead, you're giving it what already sounds redundant and asking it to make it better. And then when you get stuck with social media, I think it's a great place to kind of come and say, hey, write me this social media caption and this social media caption, and have it create kind of a content calendar for you. And it will give you a direction on what collateral you need. So if you say, write me a National Margarita Day post, then it's going to give you kind of what content do you need, and then you can go out and get it. So as long as you give it enough time, it will provide you with the ideas for articles or photos or videos that you can then go out and capture yourself. Where you shouldn't go with AI, and that's not on a slide, and we will just talk about it and then we'll open up for questions. But the places I think that you shouldn't use AI to start: your headshot. It is one of those things that it will always be a joke in the industry, right? That our headshots are outdated or don't look like us or whatever. AI, that's a mistake. That is where you are going to look fake. I actually saw someone update their profile picture yesterday in the industry, and I immediately said, that's AI. He doesn't look like that. And the reason it's a problem is because when someone then meets you or Zooms with you or whatever, you immediately look like you've been lying about something. And it creates this distrust, whether you mean it to or not. You just thought it was a great photo that looked a little more polished than someone behind a camera. But really what you're creating is this lack of consistency. And I can't for 1 second overemphasize how much that leads to mistrust, especially with your first-time home buyers. The second place is in one-on-one communication. If someone is texting you, don't head to ChatGPT to ask how to respond unless it's a very complicated question. In general, and I say this in all different contexts in my life, but you know how to be a human. So just continue being a human. The one-on-one communication, quick texts, things of that nature, no need to head to AI. And then really that last place is to replace an expert. So we don't want you guys to be replaced. You don't want to replace your inspection professional, your mortgage professional, any, professional along the way, because there are places where ChatGPT is wrong, or BART is wrong, or any other platform is wrong. And the last thing you'd want is to head there and, mortgages are what I know, so we'll use that as the example. But the last thing you want to do is say, what's a minimum down payment for a first-time home buyer? Have them give you an answer and then have that actually be incorrect. And that just opens all of us up to people, again, mistrusting. And we know there's so much, stress that comes along with buying or selling a home. And the last thing we want to do is provide false information based on an AI model. So for me, those are the 3 places you stay away from AI. The 3 places you start are to really create those templates so that patterns are easier and more efficient, to make you sound more unique and less redundant, and then to get you out of your ruts or where you're stuck. So with that, we'll open it up for any questions and kind of go from there.
Thank you, Sarah.
course.
I know that there's probably a lot of questions, and there's a lot that they covered today. And we did a media day a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of Cindy's people attended that as well. And I'm going to bring up an example that I thought was really powerful in the way we consider AI. So one of the loan officers on my team was working with a client that was predominantly Spanish speaking and preferred to be speaking in language. And he did not speak Spanish, but he said, I wanted to communicate via email in their language and, reassure them of something with respect to the post-closing process, and a templated kind of email he always sends when a loan closes after the fact. So he went to ChatGPT, took that templated email, put it in ChatGPT, and said, translate to Spanish, and then said, translate it back to English. So he could see that it translated exactly the way he wanted it to read before he sent it to the client. So he used ChatGPT to help him with a bilingual client, in a place where he was deficient because he didn't speak Spanish, and to communicate to them in the language that they preferred. That to me was incredibly powerful and incredibly efficient, because you could use it for many multilingual people, you know what I mean? And it's a place where you always felt like you couldn't communicate efficiently. You now have a tool in your hands, that would assist you with that, versus just the translator app. I'm talking about like in email or in, more than just using the translator app, to speak a few good words there.
And you have the ability to trust but verify there. So he was able to kind of put it in, get what he needed, and then reverse it to make sure that it was correct. And I think, language barriers come in many different shapes and forms. So I have had many people say to me, I can't work with people who are downsizing because I've never been there. I don't understand that. Well, or I can't work with a first-time home buyer. I'm not 32 anymore. And I don't understand that communication. So it works, actual different languages, but also different communication styles. It works across that board, and you can, again, trust but verify. Super powerful. And the client was super appreciative.
Absolutely. I mean, it gives an edge you didn't know you had. You know what I mean? It's an added tool in your toolbox. And we're just uncomfortable with things that are new. But here, I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And you solved it in literally, a minute.
Any other questions I can answer for
I
anyone?
have one. Well, I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Just remember, guys, we all write, different levels. But one thing that it really does well, let's say you need to send out an email and you write it and you put it in ChatGPT and say to rewrite it. It's gonna sound like you, but it's going to sound better. And it's gonna have correct grammar, et cetera, et cetera. So I use it for things like redoing my ad copy, emails, because it just is very helpful. I still don't trust it with certain things. Like a lot of these things I didn't even know it did. Okay. I just use it really to make sure my ad copy and things like what I just suggested are looking better, you know, or I'm having trouble with a paragraph in a new book, you know, and I've written it, but I want it to be, and they always make it sound better, you know. Sometimes I can't get out of my own head. So it's really useful, and I pay for it because sometimes I need statistics. So what they do is they'll pull stuff up. I can pick between it and I can check it out. So it's just an amazing time saver, really.
My favorite example, and my dad would probably be mortified if he knew I was telling everyone this story, but my dad is probably one of the least technologically savvy humans I know, and he overthinks everything he writes. And we are having some work done on our house, and we did a new railing, and he went to the same company he used 13 years ago when the house was built. And the guy, after they came out and took care of the new project, said, hey, if you wouldn't mind, would you please write me a review on Google? And so, of course, what did my dad do? Called me and said, I don't know how to write a Google review. And so I said to him, Dad, what were the 3 things you liked most about working with the company? He told me. I plopped it into ChatGPT. It gave me like a 6-paragraph review, and I started to read it to him, and he goes, Sarah, who the heck wrote this? Why are we even discussing this? I would never write 6 paragraphs for a review, let alone like 5 words. Like, what doesn't sound like me? And I was like, okay, like, how long would you actually write? And he was like, I don't know, maybe 3 sentences. So I edited my prompt to ChatGPT and I said, write me a review based on, again, these same 3 things, but cap it at 150 words. It spit something out. He was like, there you go. Thank you for writing that yourself versus using AI. I said, Dad, I didn't write it myself. I just gave it more context because now I had it. We posted it. It took us probably 6 minutes, and a lot less frustration than when he asks me to respond to text messages for him because he's afraid he's going to say the wrong thing. And I didn't have to do anything. I literally just plopped it into ChatGPT and moved on.
It's a very good example, because that you have to give it good instructions.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what to do if you don't tell it.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Very good presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question for Sarah.
Sure.
So, do you know if all the ones that you listed, the different ones, has a trial period or free trial period?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would say that they don't all have a free trial period. I would say a lot of these are probably pay from the start, but I would guess, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I have 2 rules of thought on that.
Yeah.
I went to pay for mine because there's been a lot of discussion about copyright issues. So if I'm paying for it, it's mine. And so $20 a month for me is worth that, because what happens if I'm doing a paragraph in my book and I need to make it sound better or shorter? I'm the famous write too long person. So I need to make it shorter. Like you said, I need 150 words. I need 300 words. Well, who owns it? So I literally did some research, asked a couple of attorneys I know, and I got some good answers on that. They're not very expensive, but in my case, I use ChatGPT. That particular one is free. You just don't have any access to the internet. But if I'm rewriting something, I really don't even need that. You know, you don't even need that tool unless I need statistics or things that you're reaching out for. So just remember that, you know, there's no cost with that. And I don't know what the other systems are like. I just know the one I use.
But what I would say to that, Cindy, is you did bring up a good point there. So the way these machines learn are based on what you input. So if you are putting in paragraphs of a book you're writing or things of that sort, you do need to remember that that is then teaching the machine, and it is going to spit out versions of things of that nature, paid or not paid. So that is how machines learn. So I tell people to make sure you're not putting in anything proprietary, because there is no guarantee the machine is not going to spit it back out to someone else. So no social security numbers, no like large amounts of data. So anything you can't find, anything that's not public record, I leave out of AI.
Yeah, it's good advice. Yeah, I'll use it for what I said.
Yeah.
And that works out pretty well. So, all righty, is that it?
That's all.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks.
Hey,
Sarah.
Cindy, 1 second. There was a question, getting a copy of the presentation via email. I think we're just posting it on the instructor page, correct, when it's rendered?
It depends. Sometimes I post it on the member site. It's
Okay.
free with access, but it's good because it's copyright protected.
Right,
And then sometimes I put it on your page.
okay.
So, we can talk about that and then you can let everybody know what we do.
Yeah, because I believe the presentation is proprietary, Sarah, and we're not really sharing the presentation via email. It was like a link to the presentation, I think is what we could share.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
just let's talk about it and I'll do it in the right place. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Have a
Thanks,
great day,
everybody.
everybody. Okay, bye.
Thanks, everyone.